Hi, I'm Randy Altman with Post Perspective. We're here at NAB 2023. Crazy. Matt Bach from Puget Systems is here, and we're going to talk a little bit. So first of all, you guys make workstations, custom workstations.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're here at the show showing new technology, and also talking about partnerships. So why don't we just jump into the technology first?
Sure. Yeah. So like you said, we do workstations, also servers though. I think some people just say we're just doing workstations, but we do a lot of servers and a lot of things that are kind of hybrid between workstation and server. So we're powering a lot of the like virtual production things here. We partner with View Studios as one of our bigger partners for virtual production, and they're doing. If you've been out to the central lobby, they're doing a motorcycle ride thing. It's really cool. They did one last year. This one's even better this year. So we're powering that. We're powering like the Unilumin booth, and a lot of those things. They're actually very similar to a workstation that we just put in a rack because it really needs those kinds of hardware because it's using Unreal Engine, and that a lot of the server grade stuff isn't really the right thing for it. So our big thing is we look at what people are trying to do, everyone from freelancers all the way up to virtual production. We look at what they're doing and we get them into the exact right hardware for that, regardless of brand, regardless of anything else, just what is the right thing for that. And we change that every year as new stuff comes out.
So you're agnostic in that sense. You'll sit down with them, say, what are your needs, and then come up with a plan.
Exactly, and we're as agnostic as we can be. Like, we're not like an Apple reseller, so we're very much on just the pure PC side, but yeah, Windows, Linux, whether it's a server, whether it's a desktop, it's really about finding the solution for everyone's workflow because everyone is unique. I mean, even if you wanted to talk just post-production, what NLE are you using? Is it Premiere? Is it Resolve? Is it Avid? How much motion graphics are you doing? How much VFX? And now, in the last year or so, we're having way more conversations about AI. Because a lot of people are starting to get into using like Stable Diffusion, and it's making a lot of controversy, but a lot of people are experimenting with it and playing around with it, and they want to be able to do that without having to rely on like cloud services. Because you can go up to the cloud and do some stuff, but oh my goodness, it costs a lot of money to try to do some of that. So they're looking at ways, how can we bring this in-house and not break the bank? And a lot of times, what's nice is the systems they're already getting to do high-end editing, like 8K RAW, is also really great for some of those kind of like Stable Diffusion and AI. So they get to play around with it without too much of an investment.
So it is a little scary, the AI, and people are a little dubious.
Yes.
But how do you see it helping this industry, the post-production industry, the production industry, in a good way, and not an evil way, in a good way?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that everyone needs to keep in mind is we've already been using AI for a long time. It's just it wasn't the buzzword, so that wasn't kind of how we're talking about it. I mean, things like content-aware fill in Photoshop is amazing. Everybody loves it. It's not taking away anyone's job. It's just making everyone's life better. A lot of the new stuff in like Premiere Pro, or they just announced for DaVinci Resolve, like the text-based editing where it does transcriptions and then you can edit by the text. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think as long as we focus on those things where it's really cool and really awesome, there's a lot of excitement. There is some of the, especially with like Stable Diffusion, like the image generation stuff, there's a lot more controversy around that kind of stuff because it's, is Adobe, their new Firefly thing, are they using all of their stock and are they paying people for that if they're using it? So there's a lot of controversy around that. Luckily ourselves, we're not as much on doing that. We're just letting people do whatever it is they want to do.
You're giving them the way to do it, and how they use it is up to them.
And then that's up to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing with, traditional video editing. I mean, you can take a video of a celebrity or whatever, and you can make them say whatever you want. Just by using little sound bites, and it's really just an extension of that. And so as long as people are responsible, which I guess you could argue there are some very unresponsible people, but it's really no different than that. It does make it easier in some ways, but in other ways, like to make it look real, it takes a lot of effort, and that will get easier over time, but so is the access to video editing, Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, there's so many more resources out even for that. So I view it as just kind of an extension of a lot of those conversations.
Now, virtual production is another, you mentioned it a little bit, but talk a little how you're working with people that want to get into virtual production, whether it's on the server side or just even on the workstation side.
Yeah, so it's really cool what we're seeing people doing now, because we have the massive volumes. We're powering View Studios Vegas location is powered by our systems. Again, some of the booths around here with virtual productions are using our systems. But what I really think is cool is seeing how that's percolating down to just someone at home. They just get like a big screen TV, they put it behind them, and they can do some really cool stuff. Like, because Unreal Engine is a free platform unless you're like monetizing games. So it's awesome seeing people really get into it, and it's providing a different avenue for people to go. Someone could be really interested in game development, like in high school, they love that, and then they actually get into the industry and they're like, I'm not sure about that. It gives them a pivot, that they can go over to, and that I think is going to be really cool to see how that affects YouTube and Twitch and all that kind of stuff. That stuff's exciting to me. And the NAB, the broadcast stuff, the big things, obviously that stuff's really fun and cool to see what they're doing. But I love seeing the little guys doing cool stuff.
Yeah, and you don't need 12K footage behind you, and I think that people don't realize that. You could use, it still looks good. Yeah,
well, and you can do mixed. You can do something right behind you, but then you can key out everything beyond the screen and backfill it afterwards with, basically a screen recording from Unreal Engine. And so you don't need to be in an entire booth, giant thing that could fit, a 747 or anything in order to do this stuff. Like, it's better if you want lighting and reflections and everything like that. But, a lot of those smaller guys, making indie films and things, like, they can do a lot with very little.
Yeah, it is sort of a new frontier, and it's interesting to see. We had somebody from Epic Games here earlier talking about the marketplace and what those offerings could give people that don't have a lot of money, don't have a big budget, and they could make it work.
Yeah, and that's really where we come in oftentimes, because we our customers are everyone from small guys to giant companies and everything, and that's just always our big thing, is getting them the most performance for their dollar. That applies to everybody. It doesn't matter how big of a budget you have. You want to know that you're not wasting money, so you can spend that budget somewhere else. And for the smaller guys, they don't have much of a budget, so it's, okay, what can I do? What's going to be the best? And we do a lot of testing for those kind of things. Anytime Intel comes out with new CPUs, NVIDIA GPUs, we take a look at them and we see, is this something good for these workflows? Because sometimes something comes out and it doesn't really matter. It's like, okay, well, it's like 5% faster than the previous generation, don't worry about it. Sometimes things come out and it's like, all right, well, this is 50% faster for this workflow. Yeah, you probably want this. Whether it's an upgrade or just, hey, you're in the market for a new system, make sure you have this. And that's a big deal, especially in the workstation space, because oftentimes technology lags in the workstation space because we're looking for stability more than anything else. But sometimes it's worth it to be on that leading edge if you can get that giant performance bump that will now let you do something completely new, something unique and different.
So where could people go to find out more about what you're showing here at the show and just your different partnerships?
Yeah, so PugetSystems.com is always great. I know we have an NAB landing page. I don't know where it is off the top of my head. If you just Google Puget Systems NAB 2023, I'm sure it will come up. But if you are here at the show, we're kind of in the back of the North Hall. We're showing off some stuff. It's a Corridor digital project. It's a rock, paper, scissors thing. They made like a live action anime thing. That's really cool, using Stable Diffusion. And then we're also showing off the project that is powering the View Studios motorcycle demo thing out in the Central Hall.
Very, very cool. Matt, thank you very much.
Of course, thanks for having me.